Hi, I'm Femi OK. Today, uprising in Sudan. We'll look at the impact the current wave of anti-government demonstrations are having on the country. We also want you to share your thoughts about what's happening in Sudan. So send us a chat via YouTube or on Twitter, of course.
Hi, my name is Abdi Latif Dahir. I am a reporter with Quartz Africa, and you're in the stream.
Anti-government demonstrators are once again calling for the resignation of Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. On Sunday, faculty members of the University of Khartoum were arrested as they tried to join the protests. More than 2,000 demonstrators have been arrested since December 19. Many say they are fed up by high food prices, fuel shortages and inflation caused by what they see as government mismanagement during Bashir's nearly 30-year rule. Security forces have reportedly used live ammunition and tear gas against protesters. Authorities say at least 19 have been killed, while the human rights group Amnesty International estimated the death toll to be at 37. The government has responded by cutting access to social media sites. Joining us to talk about all of this from Khartoum, Rabbi Abdul Ati Obeid is a senior member of Sudan's ruling National Congress Party. Hamad Mahmoud is an activist and Al Jazeera reporter, and producer Hiba Morgan. Hello, everybody. It's really good to have you here. Hiba, you've reported on Sudan for a very long time. These protests, what makes them different as far as you're concerned?
Well, I think the fact that it went on for so long is quite interesting. We've seen protests over the past few years, 2012, 2013, beginning of January 2018, people have been protesting. All these times, it's always about the economy, about the rise in bread prices, the rise in food commodity prices. But the fact that this one went on for more than 3 weeks, actually, no, 3 weeks right now, is quite interesting. And the response, usually people are afraid once they are faced by live ammunition and tear gas, but this time they seem to be very determined.
Ahmed, you've been out in the streets, you have been protested, you've even been detained. What happened to you?
Well, first, I would like to come back to the point why it's different. It's actually different because this time there is some kind of leadership that Sudanese professional associations, which is a body of many parallel workers' unions and trade unions, is calling for these protests. That's the reason it's different, mainly different this time. I went protesting on the 25th of December and again on the 31st of December. I was arrested on the 31st, brutally beaten by security agents in plain clothing and in army fatigue. And I was released at the same day from a police station, along with other 20 detainees. Hundreds others are still detained in Khartoum and many more outside Khartoum as well.
Rabbi, I'm getting in a lot of response from people on social media, even though social media has been cut off in Sudan. People are using VPNs in order to get around the fact that they're not able to get online so easily. Nashma here on Twitter says the solidarity of the Sudanese people has never been so strong. Thousands in any one area have been active in the demonstrations. What do you make of that?
Yes, I think that these demonstrations against the government, due to some reasons, the majority of the reasons behind these protests and these demonstrations are normally and originally because of the rise of the prices of necessary commodities like bread, and also the shortage of fuel. As now the problem of shortage of fuel as benzene now solved, and I think the problem of diesel is not solved, but some steps taken by the government to solve all the crises that behind the protests and demonstrations against the government. And I think now those people who are protesting, not like before, but and also if we compare them with the supporters of the government, we will not find any comparison between the supporters and those people who are protesting. And I think that the government is very keen to solve the economic problems, and to fill the gap of the economy in a very short period of time, according to a very quick plan. And this plan of action, I think that has taken now place, and the positive effect of this plan is now very obvious. And this will solve the problem, and this problem is normally not a political problem, but economical problem due to the
It's a political
reason
problem.
that
The thing, Mr. Rabi Abdel Ati, I agree with you. The prices in bread and the shortage of fuel is a reason, but the main reason is that people realize why there is high prices for bread and why there is shortage of fuel. The people realize that the reason is this government, the corruption that your government have been working under for 30 years is the reason why we have shortage of fuel and necessity prices.
you know that
80% of your budget is going towards protecting you and the government. 80% of the budget is not going to education or healthcare or anything. It's literally going into creating more militias to protect the regime because you knew this day will come. You've always knew this day will come.
Hiba, I see you nodding. Go ahead. Tell us what's behind the nod.
Actually, during
one thing we've heard repeatedly
during
from
the
people
period from the year 2000 up to 2011, the government produced petrol, and before the secession of the South, Sudan is a country to receive a lot of expatriates from different countries in Africa, different countries from Asia, including Syria and Turkey, and even from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Chad, and other countries. And before the secession of the South, there was no problem. But I think that after the year 2011 and the loss of the revenue of petrol, Sudan started to suffer from this.
All right, so troubles linked to less revenue.
And in addition to the sanctions that imposed against Sudan, since
there has always been problems
for about 20 years.
The sanctions.
So Ahmad, give Hiba a chance to actually join in the conversation as well. Hiba, go ahead.
I mean, Mr. Robert, sanctions have been lifted in 2017, and we've seen economy instead getting worse. I've been covering Sudan before the sanctions and after the sanctions, and we can see that things have not been improving. Things are getting worse. And people are saying that despite this crisis going away, it seems to be coming back repeatedly. So it would be a month of bread available, fuel available, but then it comes back again, and there would be long lines of people waiting for to get bread, long lines of people trying to get fuel, and we see people lining every single day trying to get access to simple cash. So you can't say that people are just going to be able to. The problem will be solved today, and that people should be happy, because they're saying that it's not about the economic policies, it's about the fact that the government is not able to handle its budget. Just like Ahmed said, that 80% is going towards the military spending and the security spending, and not going into healthcare, not going into education, not going into development.
Mr. Rabi, can I put this to you? This comes live through YouTube, a conversation that's happening right now as we're watching the stream. Why has the government blocked off the internet? Very direct question.
Yes, actually, I don't think that the government blocked the internet. Now, I am using internet, and it is very clear that now Skype is working, and now you are seeing my picture and also hearing my voice. I don't think that maybe there are some
I live in Khartoum,
technical problems. Please,
Twitter and
interruption is not good. Interruption is not good. Either to let me
I'm interrupting your lies. You are lying.
And give my remarks and comments, or not. It is not actually. It will be in vain, because
I am using
viewers
VPN.
and those people
so in the interest of everybody being able to understand everything.
Understand nothing, please.
So,
if I want to interrupt every time, that Mr. Ahmed or the other guest, Iba, also they will not able to speak and to complete what they want to say. But actually, this is you have to give me a full chance after completing and finishing. Then Mr. Ahmed or Hiba can also start to what they want to comment about, or what they want to give any remarks.
I understand. So then the internet is not blocked, Ahmed?
The internet is very blocked. Social media specifically, it's an easy procedure. They blocked Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or anything that's related to social media. Really, you cannot access them without VPN. Yes, you can use Skype without VPN, and you can use Google without VPN, YouTube too. But there's no way to use WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter without a VPN. And I dare Mr. Rabi Abdel Ati now to send a message on WhatsApp without a VPN. He will not. be able to do it.
Let's move on. Sama here is a pharmacist. Let me share this bit of her background story here. And she's been participating in the protest organised by the Sudanese Professionals Association. And she's been involved in various forms of protest performed on the streets and on the media. And in the media, she shares these pictures here for part of a protest. It's a partial shutdown of pharmacies performed today, that's on Monday, by pharmacists in Wad Madani in support of demands of the Sudanese people. Here, but I'm just wondering if these protests are now being organised and attended by the middle class of Sudan, by professionals of Sudan. Does that give this protest more power?
Well, yes, Femi. Let's realize that at this point, it seems to be every level of Sudanese communities. We're looking at people who have been facing economic crisis, lower class, lower income people. We're also looking at people from middle class and people who are well off. They're all protesting because it's turned from the economy, and now people are protesting the government itself. They think that it's not just about the fact that the country is facing high prices and inflation. They think it's the way the country is governed, the fact that they can't express themselves freely. Journalists are being detained. People can't come out and just express. We've seen teachers yesterday just holding banners and being detained and beaten and arrested just because of that. So it's not just about the fact that things are expensive in the market, that there's no fuel. This thing has quickly escalated from the economy to now the government, and the fact that there's so many restraints, that the government is imposing so many restrictions. So it's about living in Sudan generally, not just the economy.
Let me bring in the voice of Mehad. Mehad was tweeting to us at the stream and said, I think it's about time that you look at the protests in Sudan. She also sent us this video comment to help us with the conversation. Have a look, have a listen.
We are protesting against injustice, corruption, dictatorship, mismanagement of our precious resources, blocking of internet services, inadequate health facilities. Sudanese youth have been going through a tough times recently. Unemployment is high. Social instability are on the rise. Our youth are losing hope in life and in the future. So when people of Atbara are going into the street, simply they gave us hope that we can write our own future that we deserve.
Rabbi, I'm wondering if this is a very strong new opposition that is asking for their government to be different, for their government to be changed.
Yes, actually, I can accept also the opinions of others. And there is no system, any political system in any country in Arab world or in Africa or even in Europe have no opposition. We have an opposition, but this opposition, if we look to it, we will see that this opposition is actually have no weight, have no popular weight, and this is actually very clear from the result of the last election that carried out in the year 2015. But we think that the free expression and to express your opinion is allowed, but actually allowed according to law. That is should be authorized by the authorities.
University teachers were arrested.
Actually, allocate
after a peaceful sit-in,
for these opinions to be actually to be clear for the people and no distraction, because
Mr.
in these
elections that you're talking about,
in these protests, a lot of people, they come inside and try to distract the properties of the people and the property of the government, and this will not be allowed, because actually we have a rule and a principle that the harm should not be for the whole people, and whenever there is a harm for people, this actually will create instability, and this will necessitate the police and the security authorities to be intervene in such cases. That is why I think that the opposition and the government should be.
Mr. Rabi, I was at a peaceful
rally. Hold tight. Rabi is about to finish his sentence. Just give him a second.
Use violence or illegal or illegal force for demonstrators. And I think that this is to be organized, and this is by exchange of opinion between the opposition and the government. And we are now working very hard so as to hold an election which will be in 2020. so that the people will select the government that will rule the country and also select the opposition. And this will lead us to a stable political system for peaceful exchange of power between different political parties.
So Hiba, you go first. Ahmed, let Hiba go first because she was trying to actually interject. So she goes first. Ahmed, and then you come second. Go ahead, Hiba.
Thank you, Femi. Well, Mr. Rabi, first of all, let's remember that the elections that you were talking about in 2015, a lot of the opposition boycotted it. So you can't say it was inclusive. You can't say it represents all the parties that were in Sudan. And when you're talking about freedom of expression, people have been arrested simply for going out and protesting. And you're accusing protesters of basically destroying properties and of looting properties. I've been in one of those protests, and I've seen the others as well. And we've been observing those protests, and we've seen that these protests have been largely peaceful, and they have not been very violent as the government is saying. What happens is the police are firing tear gas. The police are firing live ammunition. We've seen people injured, bleeding. So you can't say that these protesters are violating any law. And you're organizing, the government and the ruling party is organizing protests, and they've been granted security. The security forces are going to be standing with these people who are pro-government, but those people who are trying to express their opinion and say that they don't want this government and they want to see a regime change, they're being met with live ammunition and tear gas. And I don't think that's fair, to be honest.
Ahmed.
Yes, before the election, Mr. Rabia, the Ministry of Interior today confirmed that 19 people died in the protests, 2 of them police officers. Of course, the number is a lot higher than that. Amnesty puts it around 40. But let's stick to the government number. 19 people were killed, 2 of them police officers, according to your Interior Minister. What are the steps your government is going to take towards that before you talk about elections? Let's discuss the people who died protesting this government now.
Yes, Ahmed. I think that all people killed or injured in these protests should be a subject for investigation by authorities, and who is behind the intention killing of protesters. He will actually be a subject to be punished according to the law and according to the criminal law. And also the crisis that erupted all over the country, which is from economical region origin. This is also will be a subject for steps and procedure to remove all these reasons behind the people and those who are protesting. And I think that now the government is doing a lot of work. It is not a government of National Congress Party only. More than 20 or 30 parties now they are participating in this government, which is a government of one accord of national unity. And we are now working very hard to solve the problem because we know that and we believe that we have factors.
I can hear. None of you agree. None of you agree with Mr. Rabi. I understand that. Let me just bring in the voice of President al-Bashir. And he was talking on January the 3rd about the way that his government was handling the protests. Have a look.
We do not kill people. We are here to provide protection and a life of dignity and luxury. However, in the end, only the righteous will prevail. In the end, if we're obliged to use weapons in order to strengthen our security, then we must use them with the least force and damage possible.
So as we've been speaking, Andrea sent us this tweet. This is the biggest challenge faced by al-Bashir in 29 years. It's no longer about the bread, but it's about the dignity of the Sudanese people. And then we go from, okay, this is how the protests started, but where will they end? Al-Bashir's regime, says Armani, has been and continues to be detrimental to Sudan and its people on every single level. We will require decades of strenuous effort to recover from 30 years of damage. No reform will fix this. Al-Bashir is not fit to be president. He never was. Hiba, there are so many calls now for the president to stand down. Not the first time, but many more calls this time. What do you think might happen?
Well, Femi, let's remember that elections are coming in 2020. Odds are this is going to be the situation if the protesters and the opposition can't come together and try to form a solid stance and negotiate with the government and exit for the government or some kind of compromise, then this is what's going to happen until elections come in 2020. But then the government says that it's not going to step down. So there's no common ground right now. There's no middle ground for these two sides to come together to a table and try to work things out. So it's very hard to see how this would end. Protesters are very determined, and the opposition is now giving them their support and say that they have legitimate reasons to be out in the streets. So this is going to be going on for a long while unless the opposition and the protesters come together and form a solid hand and force the president to a table where he says, okay, this is my plan. I'm going to be governing until I hand over to an interim government or an interim council as they want.
Mujuzi, Ahmed, let me put this tweet to you from Mujuzi. He describes you as a protester as cannon fodder. Protests need to get smarter. Unfocused rage burns out faster than jet fuel. And Mujuzi predicts that it will not go well.
Well, I mean, I agree. I'm focused. It is focused rage. It is very focused rage towards the lies that Mr. Rabi and his government have been spewing at us in the past days and in the past weeks. They tried everything to downplay these protests, whether it's arresting innocent people and trying to racialize the matter by saying Darfuris rebel groups are organizing the protest, or by saying that we are rioters and we burn and we destroy. The matter of the fact is we protest peacefully, calling for the end of the regime, calling for our dignity, and to get rid of this regime, and we are met with live bullets and tear gas every day on the streets.
Rabi, let me share this with you from the Honourable Abdi Salan, and he is really concerned about where Sudan is right now, and he urges the Sudanese to think wisely before protesting. One individual mistake should not destroy their lovely nation. Refer to what happened to your brotherly Arab nations after the Arab Spring, Syria, Tunisia and the like. Let the mind work, brothers. Rabi, what do you make of that? There's concern from outside of the country that maybe this is not a good direction for the country to go, the way the protesters are being treated and the way the administration is treating the protesters.
You know, actually, what we are speaking about, that should work all together. The government, the National Congress Party, and all partners in this government of one accord and national unity, we should work together to create stability, because we should not try to say that this party is to be isolated and this party should govern the country. But we should work together to solve the economic problem of the country. We should work together to establish a political system for peaceful exchange of power between all political parties. And also we should work together so that this country will witness prosperity and luxury for the Sudanese people. But actually, some people demonstrate. This is not actually the method to topple off or to make the Field Marshal Omar al-Bashir to step down. The only legal way for stepping down or toppling off the government is the election, transparent election, that election to be monitored by the international, by regional institutions that specialize in monitoring elections. And after that, we will see the people who are supporting NCP or any other political party, and what is the number of the people who are supporting the opposition. And by this way, I think that we will avoid the situation that happened in Syria and in Yemen and in other countries.
We're in the final minute of the show.
The revolutions of spring, as you said.
All right, we're in the final minute of this discussion.
Okay,
Hiba?
Mr. Rabi, okay, we still have 2 years to the elections. What does your government propose now to fix the problems, the economic problems that we are facing in Khartoum and in Sudan? Within
yes,
the next
now
year?
the problem.
What else?
Yes, now the steps taken by the government, Mr. Ahmed, that now a lot of steps taken. There is an austerity plan which is adopted by the government to reduce.
Mr. Rabi, we have to leave it there with you mentioning. We have to leave it there with the idea of the austerity plan, and we will keep up to date with what will happen next. Rabi, Ahmed, Hiba, the time has gone very fast. Thank you so much. We will continue this discussion online and offline. Online using a VPN if you're in Sudan. Nashwa Ahmed says what we are seeing on the ground indicates that this regime is at its end. We shall discover that in future episodes of the stream. That's all the time we have. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.